Welcome back to The Truth with Trinity, and I am your host, Trinity. And if this is your first time, thank you for tuning in. And here I discuss issues that happen within the black community. Not only do I discuss them, but hopefully make some meaningful resolutions to solve some of these issues. So, I wanted to start off by saying that I was on YouTube, I was watching a video. It was of a young black man talking to an older black man about the importance of voting Republican. And he started to go on to talk about the generational financial situations that, black people have been in with welfare and, how they continue to vote Democrat when Democrat really supports, black people, staying down and staying, dependent on welfare. But then he gets to talking about black women and he makes a small mockery quote in a female voice saying, you know how black women are. They say, I don't need a man. And then he goes on to talk about how they depend on welfare, okay, and not a man. So that brings me to my topic today, the black family versus the welfare system. Before I get started, I want to make a small disclaimer. And, this is not to say all black people. There are black men and women that have families and marriage. They're producing children bright and strong that are going to be some of the pillars and leaders of our world in the upcoming future. My hat goes off to them. If you're listening, please spread the word to other black men and young women to do the same. Okay? So that's my disclaimer. But here we're not talking about those black men and women though. And we're not talking about the Huxtables. We're not talking about the successful black men and women that are married with children that you or I could point out that percentage. We're talking about the large percentage of our people that are on welfare that continue to practice and engage in activities that are going to continue to destroy our race of people and unconsciously or consciously. Okay, so I want to start off by a quote or a study, an article that I found, and this is one of the quotes is by a person by the name of Minoyan. I really couldn't pronounce their name. But they did a study that back in 1965, 23.6% of black children were born to single black mothers. Okay? And there were 3% white children born to white single mothers. Okay? So I want to stop and talk about that for a second. I understand, back in the, late 50s, 60s, before affirmative action kicked in, and all those things that, crippled, black men from working. A lot of jobs didn't want to hire black people, period. And definitely not the black man, to be designed so there will be a unbalance in the home. What woman of any race wants to look up or be submissive or, to a man that is not producing or providing. So there definitely was a difficult time period for blacks back in those days, especially. Okay, and then you had the welfare system back then. They would make unannounced visits to the black women's houses. Making sure that there were no men articles there like razors, shaving cream, anything that would signal that there was a man living in the home. So they really went through great lengths to keep black men out of the home, and it caused black women to have to sneak a man in the house. He had to be out the house at a certain time of day. And and that really discouraged a lot of black women and men from marrying, because of course you couldn't marry being on welfare. That kind of booted you off of there. Okay, so I want to fast forward though to 2020. Now they're saying that 72% of black children are born into unwed homes with single black mothers. So 1965, 23.6%. So it's jumped, almost a staggering 50%. 72% now of black children are born into unwed homes. Okay, so today, okay, it seems like it's become a generational like curse, that benefits the system, of course, but yet we're still practicing these same activities that are causing us, more harm. And of course, we're being exploited. But once again, we've got to stop exploiting ourselves. The things that we need to push to our young black men and young women is the importance of marriage. It's a thing in, a lot of young, black culture that marriage is just a piece of paper, it's just a certificate. When they haven't been taught the importance and the significance of two people joining together, okay? Contractual, the legal aspect of it, and also the spiritual aspect, and it creates a strong base for the children, okay? And supposedly two incomes in the home. A lot of black men complain that, black women, the first thing they do when they get pregnant is they run to welfare. When only the man that stays in the home every day understands how expensive it is to raise children. Not only the financial aspect of it, but the life force energy to raise children every day, to stay in the house and to stay committed to what you created, and stay there to the finish, at least until the children are grown. Okay, a lot of them don't understand that, and some of them, quite frankly, don't want to understand that, and then cry, when a woman has to go, to seek assistance. And nowadays it's set up to, if you get pregnant, you have the baby, you apply for welfare, they immediately want to know who the child's father is so that they could start child support proceedings. So a lot of men are complaining about that, but I challenge brothers, I'm going to give them the same advice that they've been giving women, period, since the beginning of time. If you don't want unwanted children, make sure, they told us to keep our legs closed, but what comes out of your genitalia is not water. You're not Johnny Appleseed. If you see an attractive woman, at least use some protection, okay? And you shouldn't go off a word of mouth. As far as her on contraceptives, take some responsibility for your own body, and use some contraceptives. And I want to do a part 2 on this video as far as, black women with the abuse of welfare, on top of that. But getting back into what I'm saying is just the importance of marriage in the home with black children. If more black people were married and there were two incomes in the home, there would be no need for child support. There would be no need for a woman to go to welfare if she could go to work and, her husband was there. And, and when he's at work, the wife could be at home with the children, or if he wants to go out there and work and, she's at home, or whatever the case is, that would definitely decrease the cases of black women being on welfare. And another thing is, a lot of young brothers, they say that there's no jobs out there for the black man and things of that nature. And it may still be tough to get employment. But the thing is, there are jobs out there. Okay? There are jobs. You might not like the job. It might not be your dream job, but you have to start somewhere. Okay? And if you're going to have children out here, the black woman needs a man that's providing inside of the household, not just having sexual relationships with her. And that's not being a man, okay? That's called taking and being abusive if you're, taking the benefits of sex and not producing and providing anything in that home. That, of course, that's going to cause problems. And that's one of the problems that we have. So that's the financial aspect of it, okay? And then another thing that happens, okay, that a lot of black men complain about black women running to welfare is the infidelity issue, okay? Black men aren't the only ones, and they won't be, and it'll never stop as far as them seeking, comfort in other women. But the thing where a lot of black men mess up at is they start mixing up where their loyalties lie. Okay? I mean, other men do it too, but for some reason, for us to be 72%, of single mothers, they really do. They lack the importance of the base and the foundation, the hierarchy of their wife. Okay? And then if you have concubines, you have, whatever on the side, and then you're getting them pregnant. And so, of course, that's destroying, of course, a woman, most likely is going to divorce you. Okay? Is going to divorce you or, leave you. So, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're looking at all these other women. And so you're over there, you're dividing your time. And, of course, that's going to cause problems in the home. Okay? So then when he leaves the home, the other woman that he's with requires money, gifts, and attention. And a lot of black men, they'll forget about their wife or their first child's mother. And then, of course, she's got the children. It's hindering her from going to work at times. And like I said, unless a black man is in that home and understands how much time it takes to raise those children, of course he's going to say, oh, she's lazy in the house. And there are some black women that just, abuse welfare. Like I said, a part 2 of this episode. But, they're saying, oh, they're just in the house, but they don't understand the importance and the significance of how much it takes to raise children. Okay, so, it's crippling her from going to work having small children, okay, small babies and whatnot. And then, he's spending money over there. The other girl ends up getting pregnant. Okay, so she's got to find a way to feed the children, okay, because his attention is elsewhere, okay? And I hate to say this, but, a lot of other races of men, they have affairs, but they know to provide for that family, their wife. Right, like I said, that hierarchy level, the wife is at the top, and hey, and a lot of them might not care for their wives either that much, but they know they don't want to be dragged to court, and they know they don't want to be put on child support, okay, and they know not to leave their children, without the proper funding and food, okay, and they know to return themselves home to at least show face to their wife. Okay, and a lot of black men, they haven't been taught that, so they go create families with other women, and that causes the first child's mother or whoever they just left behind with their children to go have to put themselves on public assistance. Okay, it causes them to have to, because who's going to help feed the children? Okay, so I encourage black men, instead of crying and complaining about the system and a black woman running to the system to replace you as a man, the first thing you need to do is not leave in the first place. Okay? And if you're with a woman that you claim that you don't want to be with, make sure, as well as you're telling black women to make better choices in their selection of men, you as a man, a black man, need to make better choices in who you're sleeping with and who you're letting your seeds off in. Okay, and don't just go on a pretty face like a lot of black men tell black women, don't just go off of his money to have children with, which is very true. I'm telling black men, don't just go off of her pretty face and body parts as far as determining who you're going to have children with, because you might not like that person. And like I've said once again, we need to take our time out to get to know a person and who they are, and abstain from sex until you get to know that person. Sex is great and everything, but it's also destroying our people because of the lack of discipline that we have and the importance of marriage. Like I said, marriage is to bring two people together to form a union, okay? To have children, to pass down a legacy from two people to one person, or however other many children, okay? Children are not made to have one parent in the household. Okay, even though it's become popularized now, But just because it's random and just because so many people are doing it doesn't make it right. And who suffers from it and who's being exploited the most is black people. Okay, the welfare system, child support system is rich off of our ignorance and the continuance of our ignorance and failure to correct these issues. Okay, black women, we if we messed up and we had children out of wedlock, we need to teach our daughters the importance of marriage and not to make the same mistakes. We don't need to get too bitter and tell them, oh, you can just replace one man with one man and just keep going. And as we get into this, I want to read an excerpt from this, the Daily Signal. It's an article, and I just want to read a little bit of it. It says, according to a Brooklands institution study published in 2009, if a person graduates from high school, works a full-time job, and waits until 21 to get married and have children, his or her chance of succeeding in life and becoming a member of the middle class rises to 76%. If a person doesn't finish high school, doesn't marry, and has a baby before the age of 21, his or her chance of becoming poor soars to 74%. And I wanted to read that because, there's a lot of programs out there, for single mothers to finish school. And that's great because they didn't have those back in the day. And, because things are going to happen. People aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. The human race isn't perfect, right? But we need to stop just being so lackadaisical with teaching our daughters, if you have a baby, then that's just it. What happened to the day where we said, over my dead body, are you going to be caught with that boy? Okay? What happened to teaching them the realities of you having babies young before you're married, and before marriage, you're going to get an education so that you will have something to offer inside of a marriage to your children? Okay? What happened to teaching them that? And the realities of how it cripples you as a woman to have children without being married and without a man that loves you and wants to stick in the home to raise those children. We need to bring that back as black people. Teaching our children the importance, especially our daughters, that, hey, I'm going to keep my legs closed. What happened to monitoring what they did and who they talked to? All this internet and social media? Any stranger just having access to our children? Teaching them certain things that they don't need to know? As parents, it's our job to protect our child's innocence as much as possible. And I don't want to keep hearing that, oh, well, children are going to do what children do, and they're going to do it if they're going to do it anyway. Yes, there are some things that they're going to do. There are. But as a parent, that is your job to make sure that they are exposed to as least as possible. And it's also your job to inform them once they get to a certain age, 16, 17, where they feel like they're grown. It's your job to inform them and protect them on their decisions as much as possible. And another thing is, with black men, we need to stop teaching our sons this pimp ideology, abusing black women, using them for their body parts, and then just hopping on to the next woman like we're still on a plantation. Okay? Back in slavery, sometimes, a lot of times, if you disobeyed the master or if he just was displeased, he would sell the children off and he would split the mother and father up, and the children up. And so, back then we had to get this sense of, well, we're just having children and, we got to be a little detached because we don't know if we're going to be separated from our children or when it's going to happen. But we're not slaves anymore. Okay, it should be a big concern as far as you being detached from your children. And black men got this thing too. Well, I don't have to care about the mother of the child. I could just care about the children. That's an oxymoron within itself. How are you going to care about your child but not care about the mother from whence it came from? So that's already a deduction and your value in your child right there. But saying that you don't care for the mother but you'll care for the child. And like I said, I'm going to reiterate again. You know, when you have children and as a man you walk out of that home, that's a 50% failure right there as a father. And so, therefore, we've got a lot of 50% fathers out there. They might get their children every weekend. They might, contribute to their finances and education, but that's still a 50% failure because that's still another black child that grows up in the home with not a father in the house, not seeing him cook, not seeing him, with, Christmas time and his slippers underneath the bed with mother, and mother doesn't have men running in and out the house trying to find a date because father is there, So that's already a 50% failure, in our black children. Okay? So I'm really encouraging us, to get these things together, because it is crippling us as a people. And, the system is out there, okay? The system is out there. But once again, just like a rat to a cheese trap, just because the trap is out there doesn't mean we have to keep putting ourselves in that trap. So just because the system is designed for us as black people to fail in our shortcomings doesn't mean that we have to keep perpetually, like I said, engaging in activities that's going to cause our downfall. We need to teach, like I said, once again, we need to teach our children the importance of the sanctity of marriage, why it's important, okay, and the benefits of it, and the benefits for children, our black children. And we also need to discourage single motherhood and flip flopping from man to man, as a woman. And we need to encourage our brothers to marry and to put down this ideology of the pimp, and I'm just going to have multiple women and things of that nature. I am going to make a part 2 to this episode. And this kind of concludes this part 1. I want to thank you for taking your time to listen to what I had to say. I hope it benefited you, or, if it did, please spread the word, to our other young black women and black men to encourage marriage and things of that nature. It's been a pleasure talking with you. If you would like to reach me, or if you have any topic suggestions, please email me at thetruthwithtrinity@gmail.com. You have a wonderful day or evening. Peace and blessings.